Hi friends! And I'm back! Finally, after so long. I don't even remember when was the last time I was making a video. So maybe this one would be a little awkward because I kind of don't remember how to do it. But my name is Anastasia and welcome to my stitching world. I owe you congratulations for Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And for our New Year floss tube, I introduce you to Haikou. Haikou is like on the very south of China. If you would like trace Beijing and Haikou, it's like on two opposite ends of like the globe. The Beijing is very north of China, like almost the border with Russia, and the Haikou is lower than China because it's an island. It's island under China, and later is just Taiwan. And so I've been waiting. I don't know, like I had this idea that someone told me, someone who is Aaron, told me that Haikou is like plus 20 degrees right now, which is super summery. It's like paradise, bounty vibes about like just beaches and sea and like palm trees. So I'm like, oh, what is the best place to do a whole year review floss tube than on a paradise island, and to give you a glimpse of paradise, of summer paradise in the middle of the winter. So originally we were going to go, Aaron has a business trip, so he's working and I will have some free time here. We were going to get here before New Year, like 1 week before New Year, so I could make this floss tube on New Year's Day. But his good shipment was delayed, so we couldn't come, and now we are after New Year here. And basically it's only 36 hours that I'm here, and my plan was to make a whole video about Haikou and introduce you to Chinese culture, introduce you to local food, just have a tour of the island. And we have dreary, raining weather. Like yesterday it was super rainy. Today at least it's not raining, but it's very windy, which is this side of the hotel is okay, but on the other side it's like storm. I don't know how to explain better than all my hopes of making just like a 10-minute video about Haikou just ruined because the whole island is kind of deserted. It's a very touristic place, and all the beaches are surrounded like by 5-star, 4-star, 3-star hotels, which provide all the amenities you need. They provide even the tennis courts. You don't even need to leave your hotel to enjoy the Haikou atmosphere. And when yesterday I went to Haikou, half the city is rebuilding, half the city is closed. I guess because of our coronavirus quarantines and closures, it was really affected. So yeah, I didn't really find anything nice, but I will talk about it at the end of the video. If you want some glimpses of Haikou, wait till the end, or just skip it. Okay, so 2022 review. Let's see. It was a crazy year. It was chaotic, crazy, mind-boggling. It was very crazy year. I cannot say it was bad to me personally, but I can't say it was just bad. It started with the war. Russia started the war, and that was the worst thing that happened to us so far. The war is not over, so if you are able to donate to Ukraine or buy from Ukrainian designers or in any way help, please do. Please do, because the war is still ongoing. Like, thankfully we are losing, like, I mean not we, but the Russians are losing. Russian side is losing, so hopefully it will be over soon, but it's already 1 year. Like, February is in 1 month. yeah, so the year started with the war, and then during the year, for 4 months, I did not have a job because it was quarantine. The Beijing kindergartens didn't work in quarantine. The virus outbreaks were throughout the year. I didn't say I didn't work like 4 hours consistently, for 4 months consistently after each other, but it was like a month here, 2 months there. We finished the year with no jobs from the end of November. So yeah, and still no job till February. So 2023 starts on a nice note too. Like, I can say, what is the sound? I'm sorry for the sound, but Haikou, neighbors and nature and dogs are just want to be in my video. I've just finished the Russian part in Russian language, and the dogs were barking and my neighbor was calling and talking and like interrupting me all the time. So now I think it's the cleaning, sweeping thingy. Unfortunately, we are here for a very limited amount of time, and in 1 hour I will have to go back to the airport because I wasn't waiting for nice weather. I was waiting for sun. I was waiting to show you on this video how like paradise weather, to take you out from your winter house and just give you a glimpse of summer. It didn't happen. You see, I'm wearing like a turtleneck and a shirt and a jacket, and I'm a little bit cold. So I'm like making runs inside the room to get some hot tea and hot coffee, though I do have some water here, but I do the runs there. Yeah, so Haikou really wants to be a part of my video. Why not? So 2022, I didn't have a job, but you would say, wow, 4 months of just staying home, amazing, you have so much stitching time. Actually, I did not. I don't know what happened, but some point I did not stitch during even the quarantine time. I was very sick. I got COVID this year. Actually, everyone got COVID this year. In December, early November, December, China announced that they changed the status for COVID from like lethal, very deadly disease to normal disease, just like flu. So they abolished all the like preventive measurements. We don't need to do tests anymore. Like the whole year, we've been doing COVID tests every second day. Every second day it was mandatory to go and do the test, otherwise like your code in your phone will turn red, you won't be able to go anywhere, you'll be forcefully quarantined either in a hotel or in your home. We were quarantined 2 times in our apartment, at least for 1 week each time. But yeah, it was just a mentally hard year. And at the end of the year they announced that they just abandon quarantine policies and everything will open up and the life just goes on, and even the borders to China are opening up. And this is when the epidemic happened! The whole China got COVID. Like literally, not just everyone I know in Beijing, but everyone I know throughout the whole China. Just everyone had COVID. Me, Aaron, his parents, his aunts and uncles, cousins, even if he's 87-year-old grandpa, which we are very lucky to say he didn't have any long-lasting like effects, and he recovered swiftly and nicely, which I still have long-lasting effects. I'm still coughing, and yeah, and I still wake up in the middle of the night here and then, like almost every day, like in a very violent fit of coughing, like chest hurting cough. So yeah, not a nice thing to have. Aaron lost his smelling. Not sure if he got it now, though it was already several weeks that we are feeling better. Yeah, so it was very hard. Another thing is that I juggled 2 jobs. I got a new job in kindergarten and then the old job as a home tutor, and I tried to combine them with having 8 to 5 job and then 3 times a week going tutoring. which basically let me just survive, left me in survival mode, because I would leave home at 6 o'clock in the morning, I will come back home at 10 o'clock in the evening. I didn't have time to enjoy my life, I didn't have time for any hobbies on the days that I did not have a tutoring job in the evening. I would just go to bed early or play computer game for 1 hour and then just sleep, because I was drained. I was emotionally and physically drained, and like, yeah. This was one of the reasons that I stopped doing YouTubes too, because I simply didn't have time to do them. I didn't have time, I didn't have energy, and I didn't stitch. At least 2 months consistently this year, last year, I did not take needle and thread in my hands. Like, there are weeks and days when I don't stitch, like I will stitch today, not stitch tomorrow, like juggle it, like today I will go meet my friends or something like this. No, like 2 months I did not stitch at all, and then I collaborated my cross stitch into my working schedule, like stitching 1 hour at a time during my lunchtime period. But how much can you stitch over 1 hour? Like 100 stitches, 120 stitches, and I chose some easy works. And now, because the last thing I was stitching in the kindergarten was my long dog, now my long dog is left in the kindergarten. I cannot stitch it because no one is allowed there, it's closed, and I think it will not reopen till February. So long story short, it was a very memorable year. And stitch-wise, let's talk about stitching. Finally, you'll be like, oh no, it's already 10 minutes, come on, show us some stitching. You can see it in the background, I purposely showed you something. Just like enlarge it a little bit. So, stitch-wise, as I said, it was not very productive. So, half the year it was nice, the second half of the year was like mostly zeros, and my plan for last year was 30 new stars for 30 years. In May, on my birthday, I was 30 years old, and I wanted to make 30 stars to commemorate it. I made 18 new starts throughout the year, and I was burned out on new starts. I really needed, like, when I was stitching, I really needed some comfort time, some relaxed time, so I chose to finish some things up, some old things, some new things. I just chose to do meditative stitching. So also, this didn't give me any material for floss tubes, because like no one wants to see your 400 stitches over 2 weeks time on one project. Like, really. That's why I only have 11 finishes this last year. Yeah, let's say 2022. 11 finishes during the year, which I'm very proud to say I had 2 really big ones and some really small ones, and some middle ones. So let's get into it. And the first thing I will show you is what everyone was waiting. Everyone was asking about it, everyone was waiting. It's like one of the favorite works on this channel, and now I'm finished, and I'm like, you can just leave! I expect 1,000 people to leave because I already finished this work and no one wants to see anything else. There is nothing else to show that's worthy of magpies and persimmons, and it's finally finished. So I started this project at least 5 years ago. It's a kit from Sue Crafts. It's a Chinese company that is producing cross-stitch based on like ancient artworks, pictures of Chinese style, like birds, nature, things like that. So it's basically art, piece of art, which is converted into crosses, stitches. Yeah, crosses. So this is my finish. I started it as a kit. 5 years ago I started as a kit, and I remember I started on this page. It contains 12. It contains 12 pages of cross stitch, and this was the first page I stitched. It had Ada. I think it was 16 count Ada. It was ginormous. It was 55 centimeters on 65 centimeters. I think it's like half of me. So basically like you can only see half of me, but I'm medium height. I'm 5'2" or 5'4", something like this. So half of me was the canvas. Really, now I don't have it, but when I just received it, I used to have a picture when I'm holding it, and from my head up to my thighs, it was the canvas. And something happened after I stitched the first part of the pattern, and the canvas got bad. It got some rusty spots. I think because I had it in my wardrobe, and maybe the conditions were not ideal for it or something, but it was a printed canvas, so I think something happened with the print, and because it saw some rusty spots, and I knew I would not stitch it immediately, to cover all the rusty spots and rust spots and everything. What if they would go bigger and more noticeable? So I decided to change fabric, and this is one of my first experiments on changing fabric, really first. Before that, I think I changed something tiny, and dyed fabric with tea, and this is a kind of tie-dye from, I think, Indian powder, something like that. And I made so many mistakes. First of all, I did not measure it correctly. Secondly, I did not do anything about the rings, and it frayed. It's ginormously frayed during the dye. They used to be a 5 centimeter, and this is how much margins I'm actually left. Here is fine, but this line I did after I already tie-dyed it, so yeah. So I cut parts of the pattern. There used to be at least 2 rows, 20 stitches more of tree here, and there is also a little more here, this leaf is cut in half, and you can see, no, actually this leaf is full. I think only this part, these 2 leaves are a little cut. So yeah, and the main point is this whole giant project is stitched in petite stitches. This is not full cross stitch, this is petite stitches. So yeah, I think it is my work of art, my giant work of art, which I spent 5 years doing, and it's amazing. Original pattern also contains backstitch, which I just dropped all, because first of all now it's super tiny, and it would be a real big pain in the ass trying to backstitch it, and second, it doesn't need it. It's very visible, all the leaves are visible, the branches, the magpies, so basically it is very colorful backstitch, and it just outlines everything. Basically all the persimmons are outlined in the same color as the stitches around them. The leaves are outlined, which you actually, from afar, you can see there are different leaves. You can see the tree, you can see the persimmons. I think the fact that it's smaller made the whole design sharper. So I don't think I need a backstitch here. One thing is that I finished it in May and still didn't frame it, though I have an idea how I want to frame it, but I think the whole year, this emotional, how to say, roller coaster? Thank you! Roller coaster was just too much for me to focus on anything positive, and to frame it I consider the most positive thing ever, so maybe this year it will happen. By the way, I forgot to ask you, how was your year? How was your year? Was it as uneventful as mine? Or did you have lots of positive things? Tell me, I'm really interested to know. Let's see some medium works and then juggle small and big. Second thing that I finished was actually one of the new starts this year. Women's Day or birthday, Erin gave me several kits from Taobao cross stitch. Not exactly what I would choose for myself. Some of them are what I would choose for myself because they were from my wish list. but he also added something that he liked or thought I would like. So this is one of them, and in original kit this cat is gray, which I converted into May colors. And her colors are like yellowish, a little gray here, a little pink here. So yeah, that's now May. My cat, my Sphinx cat. If you don't know, I do have her. Still, she still agrees to live with us, even if we are not as perfect parents, but she still agrees to live with us. And I stitched it on this Ada, which is like printed Ada. On the back side is like all white. I don't know if you can see, but it's basically all white, and this side is very colorful. Which now I'm thinking like, what should I do with it? What I'm gonna frame it? No, it's too like childish, too cartoonish. Not something that I would personally choose. So in the end, I decided that I would cut it out and just sew it on my pants. It will be like on one of the legs of the pants. I want to finish it this way. It's some kind of hard Ada, so makes it very sturdy, robust. No, sturdy. So it will be kind of easy to cut out and sew it. So this is the plan. This is the plan to FFL this, and right now we're in the middle of the winter, so I don't know why do I need to do it to my summer pants, but I will do it maybe sometime in the spring and I will show you. One more thing that I stitched and finished and actually started last year, I think it was my first start of the year and the first finish of the year, is a Violet Dreams by Katerina Saitova Russian pattern, which I started when I heard about the war, and it's like my feelings in it, but it was a year ago, and I believe I showed you already. It's a finished piece and during I was stitching it, so if you want to hear my thoughts and emotions about it, you can just go back a couple videos, but right now I don't remember if I had any problems about this pattern or anything. I can see that it does have a lot of backstitch, but the backstitch is very easy. It's 1 and 2 threads in black, and I'm using like very thin and very thick sewing thread for my black backstitch, which makes it easy, because sewing thread is much easier to operate than like any cross stitch floss, any cross stitch floss. It's phraseless, it lies down more evenly and beautifully. It makes the whole backstitch look like you just draw it with a pen. So I stitched it on a 32 count Murano, and in this like marble color, and actually I was a little bit afraid that it will overshadow the design, but now after it's the whole year is standing on my shelf, just like that, placed on a box and standing on my shelf, nice corners everywhere. Yeah, I didn't close the back because no one really cares, just standing there in the back in the computer room, and I have to say it does not overshadow the design. I think if it will be on a white or on something very light, it will maybe pop up more, but it still pops up. It still pops up. It's still very visible. Like the moment I enter the room, it's not something blurry, something purplish. No, I see it's a cat skull. I see the skull, I see the flowers, I see every little details. Nah, it's not overshadowing. Okay. One more thing I stitched and finished is one of the old projects. I think it's already 2 or 3 years when I did the Dark October stitching. I started this. It's a Trick or Treat by Lena Lawson. It's a scarecrow with pumpkin head on a big T. Difficult to hold. I have mixed feelings about this design. Like, lemon tea. Not ice. I have very mixed feelings about this design. First of all, I love the design. It has so many tiny details, like starting from like this T and the buckles of his shoes, or the heels of his shoes, the straw here and there coming out, the buttons of his shirt, the little fingers, crooked fingers, like his face, straw coming out of his sleeves, his top hat of the pumpkin. It's like so detailed, so tiny, and I can't say this is a really big one. Like, it's thin but long, but not big. It's like one-handed stitches. I'm not sure, it's like 2,000 stitches, 3,000 stitches. So it's relatively small. At the same time, it has lots of 3/4 stitches, long stitches, petite stitches, and I understand why they were incorporated in this design, because obviously the designer wanted like to use long stitches here on the edge of his like suit, and then the back stitch would go like next to the stitch or over the stitch, and it would make it like wholesome. But at the same time, his hands have like full cross, and then the back stitch just cuts in the middle of the cross like it needs to. So at that place should be like 3/4 stitches or something, but it's just a full cross. The back stitch cuts it, and it still makes it wholesome. Like, you can't say that the back stitch like is like on top of stitches. It doesn't cut them or anything. So I have this question: why deliberately making it overcomplicated? If you already have full stitches and you go with back stitch over them, you're like shaping your back stitch, but on, if you understand what I mean. It's difficult to explain, but basically the back stitch is on top of a full cross, but the picture doesn't need this full cross. So why would you? And it looks good. It looks good. It looks wholesome. I don't mind this a little bit like of color on the edge of back stitch here and there. It doesn't stand out. So why would you even use so many 3/4, so many long stitch, so many petites in like other lines to make them not cross over the back stitch, which doesn't stand out too. So it's a mix of this and that. And one more thing, which I understand why it was done, it makes it like a fact, but it has a lot of colored backstitch. Like, this is really cross-stitch BDSM. Backstitch is killing me! So I really don't like colorful backstitch, because for black one I'm using sewing thread, and for colorful one I have to use like my CXC or DMC, whichever I have at that moment. And I don't like using it for backstitch because they're thicker, it's difficult to operate, they're fraying, yeah, they're fluffy. So it has a lot of different colors. I think it's at least like 8 to 10 different colors of backstitch. Do you see them? Me neither. Because there is black and very dark brown and medium dark brown and very dark green. Orange, okay. Yellow for the straw, okay. I accept that yellow and orange are needed because yellow and orange are in the straw and orange is in the pumpkin. Do you see all these shades of brown and greens? Me neither. I have 2 finishes this year from the company Furzilok. Furzilok are making they are Ukrainian company, and they are making their kits on a wooden place. Finished, glued the back. This is a Christmas wreath, and so far Furzilok is one of my favorite companies for kits. Like, mostly I cross-stitch just patterns on whatever fabric I choose for them and everything. I don't really use so many kits. If I do use kits, I sometimes swap with fabric, but if I could buy kits from only one company till the rest of my life, that would be Furzilok. Because, first of all, when you cross-stitch, it smells amazing. It smells like forest, like some campfire, just wood. Secondly, they use DMC threads, graining beads, everything in their little kits, so you don't need anything else. You don't need to buy or use anything. They have even the felt cutouts in the shape of their product. You just need to glue it, or stitch it, or stitch it over if you want to. I glued it. Have spray glue, so I just spray it and glue. So this is one of my favorite companies, and they do this amazing. I love how the crosses look on the I generally love how the crosses look on plastic or wood because they're very even. You can really increase your tension, and though wood does eat a lot of because it's thicker, so it eats a lot of thread. So usually, like, I do elbow length thread, and it will be enough for 40-50 stitches. On the wood it will be enough only for 25-29 stitches. So it does eat more floss. Just positive review generally. This kit in particular, what I didn't like. I didn't like sewing these beads. So they do have this nice to the touch beads, but they are sewn using the plastic like fishing line thing. I'm not sure how should I say it. Now we have a rooster. Whatever. So fishing line. Let's say it like that. It's very thin and it's so slippery. Super slippery. So it was very bad. It was very bad, like, experience just stitching these beads on. I could change the thread. If there would be even more, I would probably change the thread, but I do appreciate that you don't see the thread, like it just beads hanging on the wreath itself. But the experience of sewing these beads on was not positive. I think I did at least, it had 3 hours just sewing these beads. And another thing, I obviously the Frisolo company is not watching me, but if they would, I would suggest them to change this like bows made of what is it, thread, these rustic bows. So obviously it's like cinnamon sticks, they are having this bow. I would suggest them to change it into something more festive. So either it would be like red or golden or something, like just a bow, not this rustic thing, because the whole image of this wreath is very festive. It has this ginormous bow which includes this yellow sparkly thread. It's not crating, it's actually one of the threads from the new collection of DMC. They had this several years ago, at least 4 years ago, they had this collection of maybe 12 colors or 14 colors which had sparkle already inside them. They're like fuzzy ones. So they do have this thread here, and it's very nice to stitch. It's much better than craning. It's not super sparkly, like I would say it's more subtle, and it does have more color. So this all yellow on the bow is this sparkly thread. I don't know if you can see the sparkle. Just believe me. I have to believe my word. But yeah, I would suggest something using like sparkle instead of this rustic one, because it kinda cheapens out the whole look. I don't know. Next one from Frisolo is their swans, and I stitched it for me and Aaron. My long dog, which is our like wedding sampler, has swans, and this one has swans, so I will put them together on one wall with my long dog whenever I will finish it. This one and our like big marriage photo, family photo we have on one wall, so this goes together. Same, love it, easy to use, everything is included, amazing. What I didn't like is that if the designer would just do the swans in simple white thread, like just white, they would look the same. But there are at least 4 different colors plus blends, like color blend, color blend, color blend, and you don't see this shading. Like, you can check my picture on Instagram, you can see it here. There is no shading here. It just looks dirty white, like just dirty white. Because yeah, it should be like lighter on top of the head, darker in the middle, very dark like under the beak or something. There should be shading. It doesn't do this effect at all. It just looks dirty. We have dirty swans. That's it. Like, just comparing to this work where we have a shading in purple, like inside of the eye is darker, outside is lighter. You can basically see the scalp formation. And this one, no. So plus, when you stitch so many colors which are kind of the same, but at the same time they are more white or gray, it really blends for your eyes, and it's kind of hard. It's hard to stitch that. And another thing is that this kit has craning, and the craning is on top of the flowers, like in this drop shape. So it's top of the flower, not to the bottom, top of the flower and a little bit on his wing. Top of the flower and a little bit up. So I think it's supposed to be like some shining light coming out of the lotus flower, or like just some dust, like fairy dust going up in the air, here and here too. So it's a little bit on top of the flower and going up. But the effect it does is actually, it's not super obvious. It's not like a cloud of dust, just some shining on top of the stitches, because it's made half stitch of craning on top of the other colored stitches. So the effect it does is that not full flower is sparkling, and half of his neck is sparkling. Why? I started as from the biggest flower, and then I didn't like the effect. I was like, if they would just do the whole flower sparkly, it would make more sense to me. It would make more sense to the whole picture, instead of like trying for the shining halo, and there is no halo. Like half of the flower is not sparkling at all, like not the down stitches, but like half of the flower is not sparkling, but his neck is sparkling. And it's not obvious. You have to like really look it through and find the sparkles. So when you do, I have the question like, why is not whole flower sparkly? Yeah, and just my rambling, but just my thoughts, my overall opinion. So of course, you do not need to agree on it. And I don't say it's bad or anything. Just my opinion in general, which I was when I was stitching. I will show you another very big one. You deserved it. You waited for it. You deserved it. Oh, like really big, really big. So this is sampler, Spring Girl sampler by Mormaran, and it was actually a free pattern. Can you imagine? Like this giant pattern is free. When you go to Mormaran group in Vkontakte, it's like on Russian social media, like Facebook have groups, Russian VK also have groups. If you go to her personal group, she has all these cells where she's just giving away her patterns for free. She's not giving them all at once, but at that moment when she's designing a new one, she will give it away. Designing a new one, the old one is already like closed, only the new one giveaway. But still, there are so many different ones. Like at the same, like one moment, there can be like up to 10 patterns you can choose from, and you can get them for free. But the thing is that you do not get them at the same time, the whole pattern. You get them parts by parts, and you participate in the sale by making reports, like photo reports of your stitches every week. So every Sunday you have to show at least 300 stitches, which I was following this sale for a couple of months. Even with my crazy work, I was able to do like 300 stitches per week. And I was keeping up, and then I realized it's going so slow, because I think there is like 11,000 stitches here, and 300 stitches per month will make it year-long or like 2-year-long pattern, which I didn't want to. So when my work finished, I just took it up and finished this pattern. And yeah, my Instagram doesn't have this all, because I still don't know how to take a picture of it. It's so big, it's so beautiful. Like the best thing would be to just take a picture of every little part, but I also want to take a picture of the whole thing. So probably when I'll be FFOing it, I will finally be able to show it off, but so far it's amazing. Plus side is that this pattern has a lot of elements which are unique. So it has many different flowers, which are actually real flowers, which you can find in like Russia or Eastern Europe. And in the spring season, it has like different birds, it has some flowers, and like some Easter symbolism. You have very characteristic traditional clothes, like face is amazing, some quokka pieces are amazing. So basically it is very detailed, very beautiful, overthought. Like I think she's like overthought this pattern, just to collaborate all these different things together, and it looks good. At the same time, like Minuses. It does not have any backstitch, which is a plus side. It does not have any blends. It does not have any 3/4 or anything. Just simple cross stitches, only colors, full solid colors. Okay, bad thing. This pink peony have at least 5 shades of pink. This little quaker have at least 8 to 9 different threads. This piece have 6 different shades. So if you would put it on, how to say it? On a frame, I think it would be easy to stitch because you can stitch here and there and there. Like 100 stitches here in this color, 10 stitches here in this color, 200 stitches here. It's like here and there. Like 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. But when I'm stitching on a hoop, I have to either change the hoop to all these different places and then count from place to place, or I would have to what I did is like I would hoop like corner or something, and I have to finish the whole corner, and one corner can have up to 30 different colors, and these all colors are used in other different places, so I would not bobbin back the thread. I would just like leave pieces of thread on my table with the numbers on them, and like basically it would make my whole just work table full of colors, full of threads just for this project. So when you focus on this project, you only have to focus on this project for the amount of preparation work you will have. Like I sometimes cross stitch a project where I would just take out a couple of colors and I would finish all the color in the pattern, and I can stitch this maybe very used color for a couple days. I do not like to have like 20 different threads in front of me. I have a cat, she likes to lick threads, she's trying to suicide by eating them all the time, so I like to put everything away, so nothing in the view of her. So this project was kind of difficult for me in case of arrangement, let's say that. Yeah, but it's beautiful, it's big, and I'm so happy that I started it last year and I finished it last year, because this size could easily become my new cold case, like easily. So I didn't make it. Okay, stay with me, we only have several more things to show. Let's do the tiny ones. A couple years ago I started this series of, I think it was 21 or 20, a series of magnets with the Russian food. It's a kit from Orphan, it's a Russian company of cross stitch, and they're cute. They are on plastic. I have the dumplings, I have the pancakes with the red caviar, I have the borscht, the Russian red meat soup with beetroot, and I have this white soup with cucumbers, which is called okroshka. I love them all, they're really cute, and they were travel project for me when I started them. Maybe I even started them in 19 or something, because they were travel project for me. And then we stopped traveling and there was like quarantine everywhere, so it was on my shelf for a long time, and then suddenly I'm at home. I need some relaxing stitching. I don't want too many colors or anything, and I'm like, how about I just finish them? They're small, they're cute. I had at least 2 already finished, just needed 2 more. So how about I just finish them, and the feeling of finish will give me this satisfaction, which maybe prompt me to stitch more in the future. So yeah, I finished them. One time I did not count the plastic correctly, so actually the top of the spoon and a little bit of the green is like extra plastic I added. Kinda can see here. Nah, you cannot, but it's good. It's good that you cannot see, because that was the plan. The plan was like to add the plastic on top, stitch it together under the crosses will hold it, so no one can see anything and it looks amazing. That was the plan. I framed them, oh no, I folded them with felt on the back, to red to white, to red to blue. Don't know, just what I had on me at that moment. They do not include the fact that they are heat, so just whatever I had. And they are magnets, so they do have like this tiny magnet to put in the bag, which I just didn't do it because actually I folded in the after the new year, 1923. But I didn't have enough time to put the magnet on. Just the morning before we left, I glued them and I left them to stick better because I used the spray glue. And then I would use the like we call it mamand, it's like forever glue, to use the magnet. But in the middle of the day, Aaron told me like, no, my business trip just confirmed. We are going tomorrow morning, so get ready. We had to pack May to take her to the mom and dad, Aaron's mom and dad. She's on vacation, and grandma eating a lot, getting more fat. They have a doggy, and it's so cute how May's just pretending not to notice the dog at all. Like she's just walking here and there, eating his food, like playing with his toys, hugging mommy and daddy. And the doggy is like running circles around her, sniffing her, wants to play with her. Like he doesn't eat her food, but he's like just over obsessed with her. And then he sees her sitting on a sofa, which he's not allowed. He sees her sitting on the dad's lap or mom's lap, and then he gets jealous. He gets so jealous that he starts jumping on the sofa like crazy and barking, and May's like just not looking at him. She's not scared of his barking. It's still a small dog. They're kind of the same size and height. But she's like just not paying attention to him. You know who's the boss here. So I finished them. I will turn them into magnets, and the ideal plan was to give them as a New Year gift to the family. Like one for mom, one to aunts, one to the cousin. And I ended up buying like gingerbread sugar cookies with handmade painting drawing on top of them, like inspired by old Russian postcards. So this was really cool, and actually I bought them from a Russian cross teacher also living in China, but I think she lives in Guangzhou, in another city. So just so many coincidences. Like, how else can I find not just a Russian person living in China and doing these things, but a Russian cross teacher but also doing cookies? Amazing, amazing. And these ones, I don't know, I just love them so much. I want to keep them to myself. I'm a little homesick, and when I was stitching them, I was thinking about all the Russian food that I eat and that I cannot really cook here, and just generally thinking about my mom and my sister, and like feeling very nostalgic. So I'm like, I want to keep them. I want to keep them myself, just put them on my fridge. Two more tiny things that I started and finished. They were the travel stitches. In October we went to Kulin. It was a small trip. We managed to squeeze it in the open window between quarantines, so we were not quarantined at home after we came back. And they were really travel stitches. This is a squirrel from one of the Russian cartoons. It's like a cartoon based on a poem by Russian very famous poet Pushkin. He made kids books and in the form of poetry. He wrote kids books. And this is like a squirrel that was in a magic land, and she was opening the nuts, and the nuts had emeralds inside. So she's like kind of like a sorting squirrel from Willy Wonka factory, but she's not choosing good or bad nuts, she's actually opening the emeralds from them. So yeah, it has a very large beads, some small beads, cute. And the bluebird. For me, bluebirds are the birds of happiness. It started when I was in the 6th grade and we were learning French, and our book for French language was called L'oiseau bleu, which is the bluebird. And I think in French they have some story or book about the blue bird that makes your wishes come true or bring you a happiness or something. So when I saw this bluebird and this company Divna Vishnya, like amazing cherry, they do have several birds, but unfortunately they are discontinuing this bases. This is not a wooden base, this is like a very pressed cardboard base. It's hard, but it's just not wood. So they are discontinuing their bases, so you still can buy a lot of their patterns in the form of PDFs or like downloads and everything, but I think a lot of their kits are discontinued. And I know there was one very popular like line of kits about like Russian children, cartoonish style, like inspired by Soviet Union cartoons, and they discontinued it. And I'm not sure about others, but I know these two are very old. These two are very old kits, because right now in China you cannot find anything new. Everything else that is left on Taobao is like several years old. I hope, since they will reopen the border in January, they will be able to import more interesting things and more new things. But as much as I cannot get new things, I don't follow them, so I don't know the news. I finished my 11 finishes of the year with my last finish of squirrel, which actually till the very last moment I thought was a rabbit. I don't know, I mean, I know how squirrels look like, and I know it doesn't look anything close to the rabbit, but the moment I saw the pattern, the moment I bought the pattern, when I was stitching, in my head I always called it rabbit. I was like, I need to get back home to stitch more rabbit. It's like, I have the rabbit by Ekaterina Defenka, the fox, the rabbit, and the raccoon, which are animals in the sweaters. And I'm like, oh, I will have another rabbit in the sweater, which I can put them next to each other. And then I'm stitching the small ears, not long ones. I'm like, rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. And I'm stitching brown skin, not white one. And I'm rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. And I'm stitching a giant tail. And I'm rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. And then I see her rabbit, because Anastasia Slashenko is the designer of this pattern. She has a pattern of the rabbit. Maybe that's why I was thinking a rabbit, because she actually has a pattern of the rabbit. And she's like, and I saw the rabbit, she is different, it's white, and it has a very light green sweater. And I'm like, somehow this rabbit looks different from my rabbit. What's wrong? But no second thoughts, mine is rabbit. Then I hooped it, and it was on my wall, and I was like, oh, I have a rabbit for the year of the rabbit for 2023. Nice. I can make a picture of it, and I will post it on Instagram on the night of 31st and greet everyone with the year of the rabbit. And then I make the picture, and the day I want to post it, I'm like, wait, that's not a rabbit. This is like a squirrel. So the pattern itself is amazing. I stitched it on 32 count Murano splash and like the light blue splashes, which make the kind of snow. It does have snow, white snow on the pattern, so if you're stitching it on blue or dark, it will look like snow. She has some snow under her feet, but I just omitted all the snow because it's already on the white. Why would I stitch more white on white? So we have a rabbit. This is a squirrel whose name is a rabbit. And I don't have any cross-stitched rabbits this year. This is not exactly a cross-stitch, but it's something I did with needle and thread. It's kind of like embroidery, and I just wanted to show it as an extra. I do not count it as in like 11th or something. Like all of this is 11, but this is just extra. So this summer I started a t-shirt. It's like a very naturalistic style, very minimalistic. It's on this light blue thing. It only has 3 colors of thread, like very light, middle, and dark. And I actually draw on it myself these floral elements, and then I embroidered them. And I kind of love how they look. They look like very rustic, natural style, which if you wear it, it's really wholesome and nice and awesome, but at the same time you don't see too much because they blend in with the color of the t-shirt itself. Yeah. They do blend in, and I chose this color so they would blend in. So they do stand out a little bit, but at the same time it's not over focused, and I do wear this t-shirt when I'm going to yoga with like leggings or pants. It looks very nice, like very simplistic, but at the same time nice. And it took me a couple months, just lunchtime stitching. So I do like it. I do like it, and though it's not exactly cross-stitch, I did something interesting this year. It was in a package like this. That's why it looks that bad, but on the body it looks better. I thought originally to make a video wearing this t-shirt, but you can see the weather does not like me. The weather does not like me, so I had to wear like everything I have with me. I also have a winter jacket, but yeah, for winter jacket it's too much. Now it's like 16 degrees, but because it's like rainy weather, windy, and generally like humid and cold, it's not very pleasant here. So let's talk about Haikou. Haikou is kind of like a touristic center, so it's not a very overdeveloped city. And yesterday when I went out, like Aaron went to work, and I just like tried to walk to the city center, which is not big. It took me like 40 minutes walking there, 40 minutes walking back to the hotel. I spent 5 hours on the streets of the city, and I chose different streets and walking everywhere. It is beautiful. I think if it's sunny and warm, it would be amazing paradise. The streets are like, when you walk on the street and there's like palm trees all the way down the road, it do look like some images from Miami, Malibu or something like that. It's deserted. Like, I went yesterday, I barely saw 20 people over 5 hours on the stand. Shopping mall, but just the streets. It's deserted. I was walking, I don't see anyone. I'm like, am I the only one in the city? What happened was like Sound Hill type of effect. And then in the city center, a lot of things closed. A lot of things closed. I think it was a downfall from the coronavirus period. Like, a lot of businesses were affected in China, and now everything is like starting up again, and probably this summer it will be reopened and everything will flourish. And because of the COVID restrictions are lifted, everyone will come here to like spend their summer vacation, or even like February or January. I expect this place to be busy again, like super soon, because it's beautiful. But at the moment, nah, didn't happen. Overall, my experience is that I waited all the time for weather to warm up to make an amazing video for you guys. Didn't happen, but I still hope you loved it. I still hope you enjoyed the greenery in the background. I still hope you like some bird sounds if you can hear them. So please support this video, give it a like, leave a comment, let me know that you still want to see my YouTubes in the future. It really supports me. It gives me motivation to create. It gives me motivation to do something interesting. So thanks a lot. I expect to do, spoiler, another video very soon with my whip parade, because I believe my whips got very different from last year, and it's high time to show them. So see you around, and thank you for watching. Bye!